people? And today we're breaking down film on the Miami Dolphins offensive line versus the Atlanta Falcons. And in this game, the Dolphins had a jumbo package, ran like 6-0 linemen for pretty much the first time in the McDaniel era, and ran it like a decent amount in this game. Julian Hill didn't play, so that made them feel a little more comfortable being able to do that. And this is something I hope sticks around because I think it added just run game versatility. Even if Julian Hill comes back, like there was times where they still have a tight end out there, you could run 6 line with Julian Hill. I think that would also help the run game. And the reasons you usually wouldn't run those 6 line jumbo packages, you know, are not really reasons I think Miami could use. Because one, it's like a predictability thing. It might mean like you're gonna be run heavy. But the Dolphins already kind of have that issue with their tight ends because their tight ends aren't really well-rounded players. They're more like one's a blocker, one's a pass catcher. You don't really have that mix of both. So I don't think that changes anything. And then another reason is like eligibles down the field, but there's a lot of concepts where the Dolphins don't even have their tight ends run routes. They just have two-man route concepts, and the tight end stays into block anyways, or he's going out on like the escort swing route. So like Dolphins already have a lot of concepts built in where they can just keep that 6 lineman into pass pro, and that even helped a lot. I think it helps the Dolphins kind of break tendency there because they created some clean pockets when they had the 6 lineman look out there. I think it helped them play with more physicality. And overall, like the O-line, I think just had a more consistent game. It wasn't perfect. I think your guard play is still very up or down. I will give some credit to some of those guys. Like, I think this is one of Paul's better run blocking games. Jonah was still a little bit inconsistent, but definitely wasn't as, volatile bad in this one. Brewer is still playing lights out. Definitely your best O-lineman, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll break this down, go across the board. So yeah, like I'm saying, so they come out here, and you come out with run skills 6 lineman. You got Tanner Connor here. You also have Alec Ingold. So you're coming out in like these bigger sets where you're kind of in 21, but it kind of creates that 22 personnel because Brunskill is basically that a tight end out there. But imagine if you could have like Julian Hill out there as well because he's a more consistent blocker out of your tight end group. You could craft some real physicality, especially if like Jackson and Daniel return as the season went on. But I just wanted to show this just because like I know this run doesn't end up creating too much, but just look at the effect Brunskill could have just down blocking. Because you have the down blocker, you have the puller with Cole Strange. So the Dolphins are going with some counteraction here. Unfortunately, Cole Strange just misses the block. But look at Brunskill's displacement there, helping out Paul work that combo. Like he gets down to that 4-eye really effectively and takes him on. If Strange is able to get a cleaner kick out on James Pierce, like this has a chance to be a decent run because this is kind of blocked up. Ingold does his job. Connor at least gets out to the DB. If he gets kicked out, this lane right here is a potentially huge one. He gets one-on-one with a DB. He at least would gain like 7-8 yards on that play if Strange effectively hits that kick out. But really just wanted to show that because Dolphins ran this a couple times where like they just had the counter and this left side of the line was down blocking. You have Brewer getting down, Jonah, Paul, Brunskill. There's a couple plays in this game where like they all created like some great displacement in that area. Just slight miscue there from Strange to not get super, super effective. Here's another pretty good work. I also didn't even mention Borum. I think Borum's actually done a pretty decent job for you these last few weeks. I was someone under the impression like that Borum would be better in Miami, and he's never going to be some world beater. I still think he's a depth guy, but he's been pretty serviceable for a depth guy, especially over the last handful of weeks. And I think this system helps protect a lot of his weaknesses, and he does a pretty good job in the run game. Like here, you can see him. Dolphins run pin pull, and he's able to pin down and do his job. You get the kick out from Strange. Brewer gets out to the next level. Jonah just needs to get a little more attached. Like I think he takes a great angle here, but once he gets to this spot, if he can just get a little more attached and cut off, because then I feel like Wright would have felt more comfortable to take this path if Jonah was just able to really get on top of that. But he felt like he was going to run into Jonah. But I do think that also Wright, if he does bend this to the outside a little bit, would make Jonah's job a little bit easier in this situation. But they still pick up a nice gain on the play. Also, really good work from Paul. You can see reaching this 3-tech on the backside, like just getting out. You can see he fully commits, opens the hips. Once he crosses, like he really makes sure that he gets to his landmark. Just good, effective work there on those pin pull that the Dolphins are trying to run. You're still getting like an 8-yard play. And here's an example of them working the pass rush, like play action. This is something the Dolphins have done a lot of the years, they usually wouldn't feel super confident leaving your tight end on an island like this with 17. Sometimes they might like move the tight end across to like slide, but then move the tight end across the opposite formation to get this guy. Here, they just leave Brunskill isolated on one of their edge defenders, and he did a pretty good job in these situations because he's just jump setting, getting engaged early, and you feel better about him in this spot. Like, look at, I mean, he's mirroring and matching. Brunskill's a good athlete, and I obviously like he'll have some losses if he's left with this much space to work with, but you would feel much better about his chances compared to a tight end. And it just creates a clean pocket. And this is a play where Tua, ends up throwing downfield to Waddle, and they end up drawing that PI. So that's something that I think the jumbo package could add because, man, they full slide and leave Brunskill on a huge island. And he has a really, really nice block there, resetting his feet. Nice job here from Patrick Paul. One of more Paul's effective games as a run blocker getting downhill. Strange able to get an effective kickout block here. Unfortunately, Jonah gets tripped up. This is something Jonah has to work on is his balance. He ends up on the ground a little bit too often. If he's able to get to this level and he get a body on 40, it would have been nice. But it didn't matter. Achan is able to make that guy miss very easily. But yeah, good job there from Paul and Strange. Jonah has some more effective blocks we'll see later on, but it wasn't his greatest game. Here's short yardage. And you can just see short yardage work to this side of the line. You get Brunskill next to Paul. This is the side of the line that can create a ton of push. Paul and Brunskill working a combo. You get Hayden Rucci out there. I thought Rucci didn't play a ton, but I actually like kind of what I saw from Rucci in his limited snaps. He only played like 4 or 5 snaps before garbage time because he got elevated, and he actually, I think, had some effective blocks. Like here, isolated on an edge, does his job, and like look at him finish. Like seeing that from Rucci. Finish late. Brunskill, like they work off the back of Brunskill. Him and Paul create some displacement there. Jonah gets out to the linebacker this time more effectively, and they pick up a first down on short yard situation pretty easily. Gordon just follows up into that hole. Really effective. Here's Jonah doing a good job getting his hat across the defensive lineman on this crack toss. So they crack toss. Nick Westbrook-Ikine cracks down. Good job from him. Jonah doesn't maintain his block, but he does enough that Achane could easily get out to space. And then this is an insane play. Just watch Brewer on this play. He is a center. This motion takes out this linebacker to basically align as like where a 4-eye would, so like as a 40. The fact that he reaches this play side where this guy is basically 2 offensive linemen removed from him is insane. This is not normal. Like, this is about as high level of a block that you'll see at the second level pretty much ever. If Paul is just able to get a little bit more of an effective block on the DB there, that would have been nice. Waddle has a pretty good block, but he does lose it a little bit late. He doesn't want to get a holding call, so I don't mind him letting go here because the guy is about to disengage, so he lets go. But you still pick up a nice 6-7 yard gain on the play. But it's really just Brewer, man. Like, that block from Brewer is ridiculous. He's just been one of your better players on the team. Like right now, if I had to do a top 5 performers for the Dolphins this season, I think Brewer's pretty much reached top 5 at this point. I think it's been in no particular order, but I think it's been probably Achane, Waddle, Brewer, and then maybe Patrick Paul's in that convo for top 5 because he's probably in that area. Then Jordan Brooks, Jalen Phillips, that's top 6. But I think Brewer has been actually our most consistent O-line. He's kind of overtaken Paul, in my opinion. And then just some decent pass pro, Dolphins isolated across the board, basically man on man people, and people are doing a good job. I feel like Borum's been a lot more effective with his hands, getting into his landmarks. Let him get out here aggressively. And I feel like just throughout the season, I would have missed, early on, I would have seen Borum miss. This guy would have hit that hand swipe, but Borum just completely widens him, sticks with him, gets him super wide. Strange, Jonah, Brewer, Jonah's getting pushed back a little bit, but you don't need to hold on too much. Jonah definitely needs to work on his anchor. Strange might lose late, but they do a good enough job winning early to be effective. Here, I feel like Borum looks pretty comfortable on space on these crack tosses. Gets a decent enough block there on his guy. Strange able to reach block here. Jonah able to win up front effectively. Even watch what happens to Brewer here. Brewer gets held. This should be defensive holding. This guy holds Brewer, so he couldn't get out to this guy. they should have called defensive holding in that situation. Just a situation where, like, dude, Brewer is a weapon. They have to do stuff like that. This was the Tua miss where he overthrew Malik on third down. One of the problems on this play is your guards losing. And they lost in different ways. So Cole Strange, you can't lose like this. This is a linebacker. He is a good blitzing linebacker, don't get me wrong. But you cannot let a linebacker straight up one-on-one spin move you like this. Like, that's an off-ball linebacker beating you that bad. It looks like Jonah loses because of maybe his eyes. Because it looks like he looks over here initially thinking this guy might blitz. And then now he gets back and is just late with his technique. He might expect a little bit of help from Paul. But then the guy just splits him. But this is mostly on Jonah in this situation. Just being late. And then Tua misses. He still shouldn't miss that throw. But it is just one of those plays like, man, your guards can't lose that fast in those spots. Jonah does make up for it. This is actually a good play from Jonah, I think, getting to his landmark. Because Dolphins, ran a lot of, counter and power in this game. And they basically do that in the backfield where they, down block, they pull this guard, Jonah, across. And he has to really adjust his aiming points here because he's getting out a little bit flat. And once he sees him move, he really makes a nice adjustment to get in the way, to give Tua a good lane to at least step up into here and not feel that pressure. And it allows him to hit this really nice throw to Waddle down the field. And I feel like that's just a really nice adjustment from Jonah, showing off his athleticism. I think his athleticism has been a little more impressive to me than his physical prowess for sure, which is a little disappointing. But as I'm saying, hey, you can come out in these 6-0 lineman looks and still play like a true drop back game. You can leave Brunskill isolated on an island. It also helps out Jonah too, because if you feel like you can leave Brunskill isolated, you can have Paul help him out even more. You can still get your protection to the right, have Brewer help out Strange. It just makes a lot of other people's lives easier, and then Tua is able to hit that back foot. It's not like they need a lot of time in pass pro most of the time because Tua's timing and rhythm. But if he feels like he can play on his timing, then that's where the Dolphins offense can be at his best. And I think just that 6-0 line package can help. Another short yardage conversion. Here you get them running some same side inside zone action with you get the sifter and the lead through from the fullback. Actually pretty effective here from Connor. Probably effective. It's not a great block from Connor, but for a guy that's not really a blocking tight end to at least get enough of a kick out there on a short yardage play is good enough for me. I think Jonah, when he's not falling to the ground, he actually looks pretty comfortable getting to the next level here. He does a good job kind of ripping through, bringing his feet to avoid getting tripped up and getting out to that linebacker at the next level. So that's pretty good work. And then Paul really has the key block here because he works off the back of Paul and look at him just displace this guy horizontally, finish him to the ground, and it allows Gordon to get up through there and create that play. Because even though this is a zone block in this situation, it does still create with your movements with your tight end and your fullback, it does still create a power type of zone feel. And it almost is Paul is just down blocking or power and counter type feel, and he gets downhill. Here on this touchdown, good work from Paul because he is not going to be there. They do twist late, but he's not going to be able to, just based on Jonah giving up this vertical displacement, they are not going to be able to pass this off where Paul is. So good job from Paul, really, getting attached to this guy because in this spot right here, a lot of times he's going to have a free loop and have a free path to the quarterback. And if he has a free path, he might be able to get after Tua, but Tua is able to get to the outside now and escape, contain, and that's where he gets a touchdown. So Jonah need to work on that anchor for sure, but good job from Paul staying attached to that long enough. So Tua could create that playoff script to get Malik that touchdown in that situation. This was one of the plays I'm talking about, where the Dolphins are able to get downhill. They're sifting across. One, Rucci, another effective block. Here he is as a sift guy, basically chop blocking an edge, taking him out completely. Then you just see this wall right here created by these three. Focus on Brewer, Jonah, and Paul. So Brewer is able to completely torque this guy out the club, get a little bit of help there from Jonah. And then Jonah, after doing that, climbs up to 55. Boom, takes a great angle. Then Paul gets downhill, he readjusts to get out to 40, and it just creates this lane right here, this little line of offensive linemen that Achan is now able to work off of, stay tight, and get upfield, pick up a nice 10-yard gain there. That's exactly what you want to see in this situation from that left side of the line. Create that push. That's that young core. This left side of the line is guys that will probably be playing, for you next year. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, with Jonah and his growth. Hopefully he can take some steps. But like Brewer and Paul are here to stay. At least, Brewer's at least here for next year, another season. You can still try to extend him. Paul is a long-term option for you at tackle. So you want to see this sort of growth, them working together, because that also can mean even more long-term success for you. Like here's another pretty effective block to pick up a first down. Get downhill, down block. Paul gets out to the linebacker. Everyone kind of doing their job. You can see Brewer getting grabbed. Like Brewer got his hair grabbed in this play. Like they should need to start calling holding. 99 actually does a good job spinning out of this to help make that tackle, but Jonah does his job effectively enough here, because even though he does get off of it, he doesn't really get off of it until his momentum's like 3 yards down the field, so Achan's able to carry him for like 5. But a lot of pretty good work there. I think more so if Ingold effectively gets his block. I think this is more so on Ingold. Like if Ingold kicks out here, it doesn't matter that this guy spins out of it. Achan's going to be able to accelerate through there, but since he couldn't cut it to the outside because of that missed Ingold block, doesn't quite get the play. Then you get some outside zone. Borum kicking out. Good job resetting, because right here he kind of misses that initial contact. A point of attack guy tries to work around, but Borum sticks with it and is able to widen him just enough. Strange gets out to 55. Brewer does a pretty good job, even though he gets a little bit displaced vertical. He's able to strain and keep that left hand inside the chest and not allow 90 to separate and create, be able to shed off of it. And since Gordon has that room, he can get out there. Jonah cuts off on the backside. I actually like interesting sort of concepts where like Jonah's here and then he kind of pulls through and replaces, and Paul gets out to 40. I feel like I haven't seen the Dolphins do this, where it's like basically outside zone, but backside tackle ends up kind of replacing Jonah in that situation. I would like to see that again, because I think Paul's someone that could do that in that spot. Here's Jonah. Jonah didn't have the greatest game, but like this is one of Jonah's best blocks of the season. This outside zone, getting on top of a linebacker, just getting great aiming points, getting to your landmark exactly where you need to be, cutting off, and like just body positioning, bringing your hips through to contact. Because when you bring your hips through like that, it's way easier to sustain your blocks and like guys to really get off of you. And he's able to really keep that block going, which is something he's kind of struggled with. Paul kicks out, but Jonah is really the key there. They're working off of hitting into that B gap. But great job from just like aiming points, landmarks, hand placement, overall body positioning with your hips, the technique. About as clean as you'll see from Jonah. So very, very good job there. And then the last play we're going to break down, the obvious one, the Brewer block. Probably the best center in the league at this when it comes to screens out in space. He's so dynamic as an athlete. I will say this about Brewer. If Brewer ever reaches a point in his career where he's not like a starter anymore, they don't see him as like a starting center, he should like go to a team and be like, hey, make me your 6-0 lineman. Because could you imagine Brewer basically being used as like a 6-0 lineman, like tight end, fullback type? Like that, like you remember like Willie Lampkin coming out of college? Like I feel like that's how he should be used. I feel like Brewer used in those types of looks would be so fun. Like he's someone who could definitely, for sure, do a lot of those types of plays, because he's one of the best athletes you'll see. And since he's an undersized O lineman, I mean he'd just be a huge tight end basically. I mean you don't have to throw him the ball, but I feel like he has a role there late in his career whenever he like finally doesn't become like a starting level center anymore. He could do some very good work for some team, hopefully Miami. So if you guys really do that, comment.